Reports of the possible proscription of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria, IMN, have begun to make rounds as the protests by Shiites have become more rampant. And with a 7-day ultimatum meted out by the coalition of Ohanese youth groups to take this step, many have begun to make conversation around the issue. Human rights lawyers have even started examining the legality of the proscription of Islamic Movement of Nigeria in some northern states. Also, the House of Representatives are divided on the call for proscription of the group over escalating violence. Now, some believe dialogue against proscription is the answer. Now, joining me to have this conversation, I have Dixon Osagie. He is a security expert. It's good to have you join us, Dixon.
Thank you, Maryann.
And of course, we have still in the studio with us Sam Adeleke, political analyst. It's good to have you join us once again, Sam.
Always a pleasure.
All right, so let's start with the protests that have continued. We've had a few of them earlier, not the way we had them. I remember the very first time they went out on the streets asking for their leader to be released. And then it degenerated to this point. So let's look at the cause, the root cause of all of this. A man has been detained for longer than he should be. And we, the public, don't really know the reasons why he's been detained. Maybe as a security expert.
Are you sure we don't know? Okay. Well,
I mean, legally, we have no reason out there why he is still being held. Maybe as a security analyst, you probably would know exactly what we may not necessarily know. Why is he still being held? We've had international courts and even members of the international community call for his release. And even within the country, the courts have said he's free to go. So why was the man still being held?
I should answer that question.
I'm just asking, maybe you know something.
It's a job question, right?
Peradventure, if it's under my custody, I would have told you why. But from intelligence, I think the government of the day are afraid to let him go based on the fact that they believe his followers are going to cause menace. You know, sometimes... If you
but they're already causing some sort of menace.
Sometimes if you want to hit any criminal element, you take the leader. So the group will be leaderless group. So now what the government are trying to do, I think the government are afraid. They don't want him to go so that he won't cause more mayhem. But that's not the best part of it. They really need to let him go. If you don't respect the law, don't expect the citizen to respect the law. Because there was a judgment that asked the presidency to let him go, free him on bail. That judgment was not adhered to. And I believe that as a citizen, if I learn from what I see or what I hear, is good for development. So if the government refuse to obey court orders, they shouldn't expect these guys to respect them. Now, as that's a key issue as being the front burner, like during the 2015 when his followers blocked the chief of army staff, I think they were having a procession that period of time. And the military generals, which all of us saw in videos, persuaded these guys, used all possible means to persuade them to let go. They refused until the military need to carry out what we call pierce through. They have to pierce through and go because the chief of army staff needs to commence his movement. And whatever the cost may be, whoever is going to pay with his life, good luck. Since then, I think some followers were killed during that period of time. The man was being held. And the president, I don't know why they don't want to release that guy. This morning I was on a TV station and I also advised the presidency to let that guy go. Because when you look at Islamic theocracy, for example, the death of Prophet Muhammad splitted Islam into two, the Sunnis and the Shiites. The Shiites all over the world consist of about 15%. For example, we have about 1 billion Muslims in the world. I think we have about 150 million Shiites, while the rest are Sunnis. Now, the Shiite belief in Islamism is that at the death of Muhammad, the brother or the cousin or the nephew should have assumed that position as the prophet, while the Sunnis disagree with that ideology by the Shiite. So, from inception, that has been their fights, and they've not been loggerhead. They've not been in good terms. When you go to Iran is the headquarters of the Shiites, while Saudi Arabia is the headquarters of the Sunnis, and these guys are not in good talking terms.
But that's religion. That is we know that there is some politics in religion, but that's religion. I mean, let's talk about Christianity. You have the Orthodox, you have the Pentecostals, you have the Protestants, you have the Baha'is who say that they're also Christian, the Baha'i faith. You have all kinds of people. The atheists also read from the Bible.
In fact, you have Christian Science,
you have
Mormons,
all kinds of, you have the Mormons, you have all of these people.
You have the Church of Satan.
And they still, one way or the other, find a way to stay within the same enclave without killing one another. So, but I'm saying that if this is happening, because I know that even in Pakistan, you still have, you know, Shiites in Pakistan. It's just that there's an unwritten code that Sunni and Shiites would never marry or cohabit. So I'm asking, why does a religion or religious affair become a state problem? Because we're beginning to deal with it at state level, where journalists are being killed, police chiefs are being killed, and ordinary citizens are also caught in a crossfire. I'm putting you on the spot here because you're the security person.
I understand what you're trying to say. You see, when these guys started their protest, they came out in an expressive manner. You see, there's what we call the expressive crowd and speculative crowd and the hostile crowd. Now, they started as an expressive crowd, trying to drive their message to the federal government and to the international community. Now, on that period of time, within that period of time, they were coming out as expressive crowd. You and I know we never found weapons in their hands, and there is no evidence to prove that they are moving with arms and ammunition.
You just answered my question, because I wanted to ask that question, because the police, during that protest, have alleged that they carried weapons. And we had our reporters in Abuja. And I asked the same question, and they said none that they know of. And so there's a police chief that has been shot and a copper that was shot who's a journalist for Channels Television. And the police is saying that these people were killed from the bullets of these protesters.
That means the person will be a marksman. You see, the police made a very terrible mistake. When it comes to hostile crowd, you don't go there and cross the picket line. The DCP crossed the picket line, and fire. We had gunshot from all angles, and peradventure that's a straight bullet that met that guy, because I belong to some professional platform, and we analyzed where the bullet came from. Now, if he's speaking to the Shiite, for example, the bullet would have come through the front, from the front head, but it came from the back and pierced through the side. So that could be said
that's a friendly fire.
That's a friendly fire. And if the police must be frank to themselves, I think they should tell us the truth. That should be a friendly fire, because except the DCP was running from the Shiite, at that period of time he has backed the Shiite, then the bullet hit his head, then we'd have said that, okay, it's the Shiite. But that person must have been a marksman. So I think that bullet was a straight bullet, and he wasn't prepared. I wonder why a DCP of police with that high ranking, we should go to a picket line and be addressing protesters, or not even protesters. We're talking about hostile protesters now, because you could be expressive protesters.
Well, yeah, we saw some of them armed with stones and
Now, those of them armed with stone, they might be using it for self-defense, but what can a stone do? Now, there's what we call the use of force and justifying the use of force. If I'm with stone and you are coming with a gun, it's not justifiable. If I'm with a stick and you are coming with a gun, it's not justifiable. Now, there's no justifications to the actions of the Nigerian police. These people are Nigerians, they're human lives, and we need to place values on human lives. The DCP that died, he was not even prepared for the action. We'll talk about crowd dispersal. If you are going for a hostile crowd dispersal, you should go with your breast jacket, you should go with your helmet. But eventually he was with his helmet yesterday, headgear, that death would have been averted. And the copper, for instance, I sent my condolences to Channels TV, and I also informed the management that never a time should, because journalists are prone to danger. The difference between a journalist in a crime zone or in a hostility zone in a front line and a soldier is just the arms. It's just that the journalist is not carrying arms. But any journalist that finds himself in any hostile environment where protest is taking place, he must be well kitted. They must give them breast jacket and headgear. If that guy had been given a breast jacket, I don't think he would have passed on.
Let's talk about the politics of this all. I'm coming to you, Adeleke. It's been almost how many years? It's more than 2 years since this man has been in custody. There have been the recent calls. The most recent is that he and his wife need to seek medical attention. And we did watch Femi Falana, who is one of the SANs who are dealing with that case, say it's only a man who's alive that can stand trial. If there is a case against him that he must answer. And the federal government has also recently come out to say, well, it's not in their hands, it's in the hands of the court. And we're wondering, which court are they talking about?
It's now a case of my word against yours, because this is so clear as the day sun that the government is deliberately and intentionally disobeying court orders. In fact, why not just tell us, why are you doing this? And some might say that, oh, it's intelligence, they can't tell us, state secrets. But then when there is scarcity of information, speculation will be rife. If you do not tell us why you are disobeying a legal order that's been given by several courts of competent jurisdiction, then you are going to give room for anarchy. Now, there are conspiracy theories floating around. Some say that Buhari is getting his orders from Saudi Arabia because he's trying to please them. So this is a geopolitical
how does that even work? He's a president of a country. Well, how does another country control a president? That's not even. That's
remember
that's not
that Nigeria is a member of the Organization of Islamic Countries, and these are geopolitical connections, alliances.
But we're not an Islamic country,
yes.
are we?
Oh,
that's
really?
Why. That's why.
But
that's
we
why
have
I
a position
asked
as
the
an Islamic
question
country by being a member
saying,
of OI.
No, but that was why I asked the question. I said it's a religious affair. Why are we getting involved in
so
a religious
these speculations
affair?
will keep having faith if this incarceration and this detention still continues. So, things like this keep floating around the streets because the government is not obeying the law. So when law and order, when justice and equity, when societies are not based on these things, people will start floating theories that might not be even be founded at the end of the day.
Because there is no information that
exactly.
is, clearly stated for us logical. To be able to follow. But let's go to the floor of the National Assembly and listen to some of the comments by their members as to whether they should be prescribed or they should be called to a table for dialogue. Let's take a listen.
The members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria have done and threatened to do acts and preparatory to or in furtherance of terrorism, including destabilization and destroying of public utilities, attack on security personnel such as the Nigerian Police and Civil Defense Corps. This act seriously intimidates the population of Abuja as well as its environs, and also damages or intends to damage the corporate existence of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Such violent and unlawful assembly is sporadic and leads to the loss of lives and properties. The Nigerian police force appears incapable to tame it as a result of the colossal violence of the members of the Islamic Movement of Nigeria. Hence, the need to direct the Inspector General of Police of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to initiate the proscription of the MIN and or declare the assembly unlawful in Nigeria.
If you pass through where these people processed yesterday and maybe by accident a stray bullet happened to hit one of our members, what are we going to be saying today? Please, I want us to listen and listen very well.
We have here require dialogue. It is important that we bring the parties together to have dialogue. It is not okay for us to see innocent lives being lost every day, every week. I urge this House, and I speak at the highest tone of my voice, that the time is now.
My colleague talked about proscribing the group, and I agree with them. I agree with him. They do not have the right to kill people in this country. They only have the right to move around, to associate. But the way it is now, if we keep seeing lips on this matter, I tell you, it may even get worse than this.
I want to urge that the leadership of this House, should invite the security agencies to meet with the leadership so that we know actually what are their problems, what are their challenges, and the way we can sit down together to prefer solutions to these challenges. So I rise to lend my voice to that motion that has been brought by my colleague, but to disagree that they should not be proscribed. Instead, there should be an avenue where their grievances are heard. And like I said in the last time where I debated on this issue, Mr. Speaker, please, if there are valid court order asking for the federal government of Nigeria to act by releasing the leader of that movement, valid court order, without any appeal, I want to ask that those court orders should actually be obeyed.
So this is it. There's a debate. Some say proscribe. Some say there has to be a dialogue. If there's no dialogue, then it might escalate out of hand. So we have just 2 minutes before we wrap things up. So I will start with you, Sam. Most of the people, if you notice, who are for dialogue are not necessarily Muslims.
Right.
And the very first speaker, obviously, is a Northerner. Might be a Muslim. We shouldn't judge from. But if the people advocating for dialogue are fewer and the people who are advocating for prescription are more, what is the fate of these people?
Whatever is sauce for the goose, we all know the end of that proverb. If you could proscribe IPOB that was not carrying arms, that was not engaging in violent protests, and then you are now finding it difficult to proscribe this group, then I think that means the laws are not for everyone. So the question is, if you make a decision, proscribe or not proscribe, but look at the implications of proscribing. For me, I believe that if you dialogue with these gentlemen and women, so to speak, then that means you are telling everyone that for the federal government to listen to you, then you must cause public disorder. Then you must go into public disturbance.
That's quite a dicey situation for the federal government, don't you think so? Because you also have to, like he said, look at the downside of prescribing them. And also, if you don't prescribe, IPOB members are waiting for you at the corner because you prescribed us and we had no guns, we had nothing.
Why do you want to prescribe them? That's my question. Because we need to look at it. You know, sometimes when we talk about crime and crime scene areas, we need to look at the reason behind it. What are the reasons behind their protests? What are they fighting for? They're fighting for a cause. Release their leader. If peradventure their leader was not being heard, what transpired in the National Assembly wouldn't have taken place. What happened in Abuja wouldn't have taken place. Release this guy. Respect, as my colleague earlier said, respect the court law, the court orders. Let this man go or put him on house arrest, place him under surveillance. That's why we have house arrest. In the advanced country, this kind of thing won't take place. They will put him on house arrest. He can't go nowhere. So either I prescribe IPOB or the people I'm even expecting him to prescribe is the herdsmen, the Fulani people.
Thank you.
We are not prescribed the Fulani people that are messing up the country, and you are talking about people that are fighting a just cause. Release the leader, and when you release the leader, let there be a kind of an undertaking, an MOU within the government and the leader that, hey, we are setting you free, but this and this and this are the rules. If you messed up again, we're going to charge you for treason. Okay. So, my dear, they should proscribe the herdsmen and leave these people to get their leader.
All right, interesting conversation we've had. Sam Adeleke, political analyst, Dixon Osaje, he's a security expert. Thank you, gentlemen, for your conversation. I mean, this is something that we have to seriously think about and handle sensitively.
Yeah, if we don't handle it sensitively, like I earlier said, Abuja will be history, because that's our capital territory.
Wow. Yeah. Well, we'll take a short break for comments of Nigerians on the screening of nominees on the ministerial list, and when we return, I'll be giving you my take. Well, it's time for my take. Now, every leader in a country is supposed to be seen as someone who's wise, who knows what is best for the people he or she is leading. And for you to be a wise leader, you must have the ears of your people. In other words, listen to the people. Find out what they want, what they need, what is best for them. Because if the people are in a state of disarray, then you cannot lead the way you should lead. In other words, peace is the way forward. These people, the Ironmen, are asking that justice be served. Prescribing them or not prescribing them is not the solution. Dialogue is the way forward. Have these people on a table, ask them, how do we go forward? Because right now, Abuja is a hotbed. Who wants to go to a country that the capital of that nation is, in shambles, where it is more like a war zone every single day? And we're here trying to ask for foreign investors. How do we get that if Nigeria is seen on the international scene as a place that is insecure? Mr. President, there's already a lot of problems on your plate, especially in security. Let us not increase or add fuel to the fire that we already have. And for the ministerial list, I'm wondering why we have ministers without portfolios. How can we tell if these people are capable of leading us or doing the jobs that they're actually going to be given to do? It's time that we awake from our slumber. Nigerians and our leaders need to stop taking laws into their hands and, going about the business of leadership as if it were nothing serious. It is serious business, and we expect the best, nothing but the best, from this next level. I am Maryann, and it's been Plus Politics.